I get DMs all the time from people thinking about switching into the trades. And they're nervous, they're worried about if there's a place for them, if there'll be too much competition, if they can truly thrive in this new field. And as someone who went from being in medical school to now being a master plumber, owning my own business, I always tell them the same story. About a year ago, I was at the hospital with my sister. She had been sick all year. She was going in for a procedure so we could finally figure out what was going wrong. And we couldn't get her nose ring out. The nurses were trying, she was trying, I was trying. Nobody could get it. And then something clicked for me, a vague memory I had from anatomy class. The tools that we used to work on the bodies that were donated to our class. I asked the nurses if they had this certain type of clamp, and they weren't sure, but they said, we'll look. And sure enough, they had it. And they were looking at me kind of funny, but I slid it in, and pop, that nose ring came out. Nurses just looked at me like I was a wizard. And one of them said, "You must be a handyman." I said, "I'm a plumber." But here's the thing. If I had only been a plumber, I never would have thought to ask for that tool. But at the same time, if I was only in the medical field, I might never have thought to use it that way. I was in a room full of medical professionals, and still no one thought to do for a second what I just did, right? And so you have to realize it was both. It was everything that I had been through and everything that I had trained how to do. That meant that even in a room full of people who had access to the knowledge that I had, I was the only person who was able to help. And so that's what I tell people who are switching careers and maybe they feel behind or they're scared that they're not going to be able to make it. Yes, you are competing against people, some of which who have been doing this for their whole lives. But at the same time, I want you to understand that if you have training, if you have a skill, if you have a knowledge base of all the things that you've been working on to master, what will also be true is that there will be situations where no one, not a single person, will be able to replicate what you bring. Because at that point, you won't be behind, you'll be different, and different, if done right, is unbeatable.